All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Between Sets and Snacks. Today we have on Ed Castillo. Ed is an entrepreneur and a personal trainer based out of Miami, Florida. Originally, he studied finance and worked in sales, but he changed to coaching because it was more conducive to his life goals. Ed's passionate about content creation, food, business within the realms of health and wellness. Ed, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Wow. It's a great list, Ed. The first question I have to ask you right off the bat, it's the most important question. What is your favorite
Let's hear it.
snack?
Ooh, my favorite snack is cereal.
Really?
So much
What
so,
kind?
yes. I have a YouTube channel that I ran for a short period of time during the pandemic called Cereality TV.
I love
And I
that.
obviously would review cereals in my living room. And my favorite cereal, it's hard to pick one. It's like asking you your favorite song, but I can give you a quick top five in no particular
Please.
order. Definitely Oreos cereal is on there.
Okay.
Which is
What's
funny
the
because that's
other
my
one?
favorite snack.
Oreos?
So full circle. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong with Oreos. I love Oreos. That's probably second on my list for snacks. Oreos, I would say s'mores cereal. I need something fruity in there. Fruity Pebbles, even though they get soggy. I love Honey Bunches of Oats, even though they get soggy. And then I'm probably gonna go the French Toast Cinnamon Toast Crunch if you guys have ever tried those.
Yes, absolutely. I gotta respect that list. It's a healthy balance of like just pure sugar.
There's nothing healthy about it. What are you
Yeah, I was about
saying?
to say. I was like, where are we going with that?
Well, look, when I'm a simpleton. When I hear oats, I just automatically think it's healthy.
That's what the breakfast companies want you to believe, Joe.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm their demographic.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's the first time we got a cereal, haven't we, Kenny?
Yeah, no, and I think that it's funny because I do love cereal, but you named all of like my least favorite cereals.
Yeah. I was
Really?
gonna say my list is a bit all over the place.
Yeah,
You probably are mad that I didn't have Frosted Flakes on there.
Dude,
You
Frosted
might be a
Flakes
Lucky
is
Charms
like,
enthusiast.
oh yes, dude, Lucky Charms
Yeah,
is good.
yeah.
Frosted Flakes, Rice Krispies, but like I add a little bit of sugar on top.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, Rice Krispies is like grandmother cereal, like retirement home
Yeah,
cereal.
right.
Yeah, they don't have that like, you don't keep that at home.
Joey likes Raisin Bran.
No, shut up.
Oh.
I was about to say the best one you guys were all missing, Captain Crunch, specifically the Captain Crunch berries.
You're right.
See?
You're right.
Dude,
Oh my
Captain
goodness.
Crunch
Peanut
was
butter.
one of my
Yeah.
favorites as
Yes.
a kid. Do you know what I loved? And I would eat a whole box right now. Is Trix, but
Yeah.
like the
When they
old
still
Trix
made
where
the-
it was like you
yeah.
actually
The
still
old
had
Trix, yeah.
the fruit shapes.
Yeah.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Like the little watermelon and the little like I think grapes.
Yes.
Those
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Big
Because
thing.
now they only have the balls, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering if it's because Trix are for kids, and I'm no longer a kid, so I can't see the
Well,
cereal.
Trix
anymore.
just became another victim of woke culture. It's fine, it's just
Yeah.
another soldier we lost.
Wait, actually.
No, I have no idea. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
I
saying-
thought
The rabbit got
Jackson was
canceled.
funny.
The rabbit
was
got
like, oh,
canceled.
no.
Yeah. Just like Aunt Jemima did, and now I can't have pancakes anymore.
On the low.
That was the only way Joey could eat pancakes.
Yeah.
Is staring at Aunt Jemima.
A very maternal presence. Anyway, before we go off
It's
on a
funny
tangent further.
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead. I was gonna keep the
No.
tangent going, but
We're just like spend the first 20 minutes talking about Aunt Jemima. No,
We could.
we could, but we're not going to, Kenny. Let's be serious.
All
right.
now. But I want to ask you, Ed, because as Ken was reading off, your stats basically, you transitioned from sales into health and wellness. Was there a moment of realization that you can remember where you're like, all right, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to do this Was it, did you watch The Wolf of Wall Street and you think, I don't want to end up like one of those guys? They all went to jail. What was the moment for you when you made that decision?
Yeah, so for me, I would say it was when I was in Morgan Stanley, I studied finance and economics. Um,
Hmm.
and it got to a point where I looked at all the people above me and like irrespective of what they were making, I just didn't necessarily see myself living their lifestyle. Everyone was out of
Hmm.
shape. I was still pretty passionate about working out. I was kind of like the oddball out. People were like, dude, why are you waking up at 5 in the morning to go work out? They looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what's up with all the ground turkey and brown rice? And I'm just like, a man on a mission post breakup. And I could just tell that where that path was heading was one that I didn't want to embark on. And then fast forward a few years when I was doing sales for different tech startups in New York, same thing. The CEO, the CFO, everyone above me was just living a life that I didn't necessarily see myself living. And so I decided to take a risk and take a chance. And the one thing that had been consistent my entire career was like my passion for fitness, always listening to podcasts, always learning, and then doing some slight personal training on the side, but definitely not full time like I do now.
Wow. That is cool because, it always seems like today that people are, stuck in jobs that they don't always want to do for the rest of their life. And so even, hearing someone make that decision to sort of transition to something they really love is always inspiring. What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that for my ADD brain, I'm constantly changing professions, right? But it's like personal training and health and wellness is constantly adapting. And so it's like very satisfying to my ADD because there's always something new to learn.
Mm.
Yeah. But also now getting into the business side of things, what I'm really trying to do is trying to find those CEOs, find all the financial advisors that are maybe not moving as much and trying to like implement my services within that realm. So I think that there is a lot of opportunity for people to just get out and start moving. So I think it's important to start somewhere.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me personally, I have always wanted to have a business of my own. In New York, I, like Kenny, have some sort of ADD and have already worked in 5 different industries at the ripe age of 28. Um, so in New York, I had a candle company where we were making decorative
Wow.
candles and like we ended up putting that to rest because it just wasn't scalable. But
Hmm.
what was so attractive about personal training is that I know that once I like had built up my clientele, it'll give me freedom, like few jobs are able to give you to like go and pursue other ventures. Like I have a skill set now that I can utilize part time if I choose to, right? Like once you get to a certain point, you can just be very selective about the clients that you work with and then focus on
Hmm.
other things that you might be interested in, which for me was super attractive.
That's super cool. I always enjoy talking with entrepreneurs just because I don't know if I quite have that mindset just yet about creating my own business. But like for both of you, do you ever have an idea where you're like, you know what? Maybe I could like take this like Shark Tank and like see if I can like get see if I can get Mark Cuban to give me a cool like half a bill. Like, do you guys have those ideas too? With your businesses and your ideas, you ever think that like I could definitely see myself on there one day?
I mean,
Kenny, you first.
I'll tell you that everything that I'm doing for my business is not like breaking new ground, right?
Hmm.
It's all been done before. It's just a matter of how do I make it individualized to a certain population? How do I set myself apart from everyone else? Because then otherwise nobody's going to want to buy from me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a very big need for deep education. So if you wanna get involved with a specific population, it's really important for you to take a deep dive in all things fitness surrounding that population. But then it's also important for you to take a deep dive in that population, right? So like learning everything that you can about that population is going to help you connect with them. So it's, like I said, satisfying my ADD, where it's like I'm totally like diving down the rabbit hole of certain things right now just to learn more about like different populations that I can kind of get involved with. And it's really exciting because I'm constantly learning new things while at the same time still digging deeper into my craft.
Very impressive.
That's awesome. And Kenny, do you see yourself doing it primarily on the individual level? Or when you think about these CEOs, these CMOs, do you see it as like potentially something that you can scale up to being like a corporate wellness program where you're offering your services at a larger scale?
Yeah, so the awesome thing about being an entrepreneur, I mean, other than like you're literally your own boss, is that there is no ceiling to what you can do. And I think that the option to do whatever you want can be both liberating and debilitating, right? Mm-hmm. Because then it's like, I can do whatever I want. That's awesome. But then it's like, I can do whatever I want. Where the hell do I start?
Right.
So I would say that as of right now, I have no intention of going on that big of a scale. But I will not close off any doors to those opportunities, and I like to see my company grow organically, and I have positioned myself in a way, because of all the career paths that I've taken in the past, because of all the random like side projects that I've always done, I am able to pivot and maneuver. So anytime that a new opportunity presents itself, I'm able to then pivot into that. The transition is relatively easy, and it will help kind of kickstart into something else, right? So it's like I can have an idea, I can have a structured approach to the way that I do things, but all of a sudden this opportunity arises over here. I'll go ahead and pivot and kind of all of a sudden now transition into a totally new program.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's super interesting, yeah. Because I'm always going to be one of those guys where it's like, no, don't give up 30%. Try to get them down to 25% or something like that. but we'll see what the future holds. But I do want to ask you, Ed, you know, we've had a couple different people on, you know, this podcast that have different backgrounds, you know, being an athlete, being an actor. You're the first person I think that we've had on that has sort of a business sales background. Is there anything that, like, you know, obviously it's a lot different, you know, working out and training people as opposed to, you know, selling them on a product. Is there any similarities, anything that you took over from your background to where you're at now and how you approach your business?
Yeah, it's a very good question. The short answer is yes, absolutely. I've been selling luxury my entire career. So like when I went from banking to different tech startups, it was always something within the realm of luxury. So it was a natural progression for me because, to Kenny's point, when you're working with a certain demographic and a certain population, you need to know how to speak their language. And although I wasn't training, I already had learned how to speak their language. So even just like going in and being able to speak to them and articulate the value in personal training and in working with me, I noticed early into my career that it was a lot easier for me because I already had done a good job at building that foundation. So definitely a lot of parallels. I think personal training is actually one of the hardest things I've ever sold, because not only are you having to sell people to start to exercise, you have to sell them into ideologies like, hey, this is why maybe you might have to make some adjustments to your diet. This is why you shouldn't be drinking this many times a week. This is why, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like it's a constant sale, but again, because I do have that customer service background, for me, it comes quite naturally and easily.
Wow. Kenny, how do you do it? Because he's way better than you.
Yeah. You can tell just by the way he talks, the way he articulates.
I can just imagine you, Kenny, just at the gym, just like, what are you doing? You bored? Like, let's go.
So having a sales background can help tremendously, right? Because sales is good to have all across the board, no matter what profession that you have. Because at the end of the day, you are selling yourself, right? I mean, not like what you do, Joey, on Saturday nights, but like you're
you know what? I'll give you that one. That was a good one.
You're selling yourself in a job interview, right? You're selling yourself, right? So it's always good to have that type of sales background. So yeah, I think that my ability to talk to people has improved dramatically since being in some sort of sales background.
Yeah, because, you know, Ed has that background. I knew you when you didn't have that background. And so to see you now from when you were training me and you're just like, do this shit. And I assume now you're a tad better at it, which I'm very, very grateful for. You know, I'm happy.
Yeah,
that
I also had no education in what I was doing when I was training you. It was just two bros working out.
Yeah, your bedside manner has improved gratefully, which I am very happy for. That no one else has to go through that.
Well, I'll also tell you this. So the biggest takeaway that I've learned from sales is you have to be able to trust in your product, right? And you can read right through a sale when someone's just like not bought in. So that in itself pushes me to read, pushes me to learn that much more about what it is I'm doing, so that I have more confidence in my ability, and then my sale becomes that much stronger because I trust in what I'm selling.
Yeah. Can I tell you guys a quick story about my salesmanship that I just remembered now that we're on topic of this? So I remember when I was 13 years old, I went to a stay-away summer camp somewhere in upstate New York. And at this camp, they had a whole bunch of different things you could do. You could do like circus. There's like plays that you could, you know, audition for. And one of the things that I wanted to do just because I liked it was like magic tricks, like sleight of hand and shit like that. And I remember, I'll never forget, the teacher was like, you know, a magic trick is only as good as the magician that's selling the trick. And so he's like, you have to like really sell it, Joey. Like you can't just like do it and you're expecting like oohs and ahs. And I remember I tried to do this one like card trick in front of like this like 10-year-old kid, and I did it, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, and walked away. And I was like, fuck this, I'm done.
I'm so mad, Joey, that is what you got out of our entire conversation.
No, that's not what I got out of the entire conversation, but it just reminded me.
That you went to a sleepaway camp with clowns and magicians.
No, there's no clowns. I'm scared of clowns. There was absolutely no clowns.
Didn't you say there was a circus?
There was, but like I learned like trapeze and things like that. Like I wasn't like
circus without clowns doesn't
no
sound
clowns.
like a circus. It sounds like gymnastics.
I have to pull up this camp now to defend myself, but
No, that's all right.
But you know, as you know, this is a fitness and health podcast, I do have to ask you, Ed, do you have a go-to song or playlist that if you need it in the gym, you know you can always rely on it? Is there a song or an artist that you're always bumping?
Oh, interesting. So yeah, I have a few. I'm currently going through a UK drill rap phase.
Really?
So now,
so
yeah,
cool.
I don't know if you guys are into UK rap. I don't like I don't like the UK accent typically, but if it's like black people from the UK, it's a way different accent. It's way cooler all of a sudden. So I've really been into UK rap, and I've been listening to Dave. I'm currently training for a half marathon.
Is Bugsy a name of? No.
Stormzy?
Stormzy, yes,
Stormzy,
dude.
yeah.
Stormzy kills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they actually have a song together, but he has an album called "We're All Alone in This Together," with like a pink cover, and it's actually pretty sick. I think you'd like it because it has
High School
like
Musical.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I first saw it. I was like, "What the hell?" It's like Troy. But yeah, it's We're all alone in this together. I've been bumping that pretty much on repeat, just because I'm training for a half marathon, and so
Ah, cool.
I've been running, and I need some like exciting music to get me through the tedious hour and a half runs that I'm getting myself into.
Ugh.
And yeah, that's been a good one for me. What about you guys?
Well, Kenny
Well,
still listens to Panic at the Disco probably every day of his life, and Mr. Brightside.
I'll tell you what, I've been doing some well, I don't want to say old school, like 2015 EDM on like my runs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's like it's something where it's just like it gets you going.
Are you
But
my
usually I need someone.
clarity? Oh.
Exactly, and I just catch my stride with it.
Oh,
But
my
I'll
goodness.
tell you what, I now that I have a garage gym, it's been really hard to get like motivation going. So now that the weather's warming up, I will like open the garage and I'll blast Creed, and I'm trying to get like the neighborhood dads to like come around the corner and be like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm done with this workout. If you want to kill this 12-pack with
They
me.
just start popping out of the hedges, just like, hello there.
Oh, is that Creed?
That's so
That's
funny.
Ed, are you familiar with Creed?
I've heard of like, is it a band or an individual?
Oh,
It's a band.
dude. So we just
It's a
had
band?
Anthony. Yeah, it's a band. We just had Anthony on last week, and I sent him a song by Creed like months ago, and I was like, I know you've never heard of this band, just give it a listen. And he's like, bro, dude, Creed is so good, so good.
What genre
Really?
would you put it at? Like alternative rock or
Dad rock.
Yeah.
that rock?
Dad rock, yeah. So I
Okay.
would say it's what is it comparable to? Like
Like, is
System
it
of a
Led
Down,
Zeppelin
but
or-
like not as hard.
System of a Down was the comparison you went to? That's hilarious.
Oh shoot! I mean,
We're going to get the dozen Creed fans on
oh,
you.
it's kind of like Nickelback. Kind of like Nickelback, I would say.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, you guys are naming bands I've never heard of. I know as far as rock.
You've never
goes,
heard of
Led
Nickelback?
Zeppelin. No. Bro, I grew
Dude,
up in the
Nickel-
Bronx. We didn't have Nickelback.
Yeah,
We'd get
that-
bullied.
that's-
Oh
that's
no,
fair.
but
Nickelback.
Nickelback, it was like it became super cool to like hate Nickelback.
Really?
can't
I know like
believe you
Green.
didn't-
I know Green Day. Or is
Well,
that
okay.
like
No wonder
Green
Ed
Day's
is
a
so
band. You're just
no
saying
wonder Ed
random
is so
things.
well
Just
adjusted.
saying random-
I was gonna say, no wonder Ed is so well adjusted. He didn't grow up listening to Nickelback and Creed like the both of us.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it explains a lot actually.
Yeah.
Ed, I'll send you I'm gonna send it to you right now.
Yeah,
But
please.
you guys keep talking. I'm gonna send you
Yeah.
My Sacrifice by Creed.
Okay, I'm really happy.
It's gonna change your
Really
life.
happy for that. Ed, I want to ask you, as someone who's, an entrepreneur yourself and, you're into the whole content creation thing, how do you leverage content to connect with your audience and grow your business right now? Obviously, everyone, is on Instagram and TikTok and things like that. What's your mindset when it comes to things like that? Because, for us especially, we're, Kenny's trying to start his own business and get this podcast going. What's your thoughts about like content creation and things like that?
Yeah. So based off of what I've learned just from a lot of people that I follow in the space, like Gary Vaynerchuk, Hormozy, and those guys, I think what works best on the platform, especially like in the stage we are at now, since it's not as elementary as it once was, is just taking a value-driven approach. So providing value and then letting your community find you. So with a lot of the content that I've been creating, my focus is just to make it as organic as possible and not try to be someone that I'm not for the sake of followers. Like, I think the blueprint exists out there for how to go viral, but that's not necessarily my goal or desired outcome. It's more so provide value and continue doing it at scale and staying consistent, and then letting the people that you eventually want to sell to come to you. So like sometimes you'll see like certain pages where they might have like 1 million followers because they post memes. And that's great, right? I used to be like, oh man, like 1 million followers. And then it's like, yeah, but what can you sell to those people? How to make
Yeah.
memes, right? Like, you ideally want to cultivate an audience that's going to be the people that are asking and demanding for the product, right? So if you like post recipes on Instagram and that's your thing, great, because the moment you drop a cookbook, guess who's going to buy all your shit?
Yeah.
So I think you have to provide value and then just be strategic about it, as opposed to just posting for the sake of it. Like, to start off the new year, I had made a goal for myself to post every day for the entire month of January, which was 31 days. And I did it. And at the end of it, one of the biggest things that I learned when I was reflecting was like, oh, actually posting every day and posting just for the sake of posting is actually not that valuable. Not only can I see that in my engagement, not only can I see that, or lack of engagement, it's more so it's not as valuable as providing things that people are willing to share or inclined to save, which seems to be the name of the game now. The algorithm used to reward you for posting all the time, regardless of what it was, but now the algorithm seems to be headed in the direction where it's like, all right, how many people are sharing this? How many people are saving it? And then it'll bump you to the top of the list. So I try to always just keep that top of mind now that I make videos and I'm taking uh, I'm taking more time with the content angle, because I've noticed that that's what's actually working now. Just like
Yeah, that
speculating.
that's interesting you say that because back in the day I used to have a little YouTube channel with my buddy about sports, and like you were saying, like posting every day. We try to do that, and on top of like what you're saying is like it's not always about posting every day, but for us we kind of got burnt out a little bit. Posting
Mm-hmm.
every day is a lot of effort. It may not seem like it, but when you do anything for every single day, it,
Mm-hmm.
it obviously wears you out a little bit. So picking and choosing your spots, I think, is really great advice, especially just for anybody at any facet of life. And I think, especially now, like you were saying, because there's all these different, like, on Twitter, like, oh, I'll
Mm-hmm.
follow back if you follow me, and like you can get
Sure.
whatever, you can get thousands of followers that way, but none of them are going to engage ever in what
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to do. So I really appreciate, like, trying to build organically, and like, getting your audience together, because that's the one that's gonna help promote you and build your social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and ultimately, I see social media, I see myself as a salesperson, as a communicator, as a storyteller. And social
Yeah.
media is just another medium or a collective of applications we've created that serve as a medium to allow us to do that. Um, so I find that if you are an effective storyteller, you just have to learn how to utilize the tools that have been given to us to tell a good story. And if you write Harry Potter, the Harry Potter social media posts, like, people will find it, and you just have
Yeah.
to make sure that you're providing actual value as opposed to just posting because you think it's going to go viral. At least that's my approach, and I'm still not.
Yeah.
I don't have the largest following yet, but I'm just getting started. So I think it'll work. We'll see. TBD.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that once I first started with the social media and the podcast, it was like I Googled like what do I need to do to like get the algorithm, like how do I get a lot of views, and always the first thing that popped up, which I thought was funny, was make good content. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I guess it makes the most sense when you get down to
Well,
it.
when you put it like
But,
that.
yeah, right. So it's like at the end of the day, if you're not creating good content, then it's nobody's gonna come back to your page, right? So I mean, you could be posting every day, but if it's not enjoyable, then, but also people have to take something away from it, right? So something super helpful that I found was whatever your demographic is, whatever demographic you're trying to appeal to, find out what their pain points are. So pain points being, for example, the demographic that I'm working with a lot now is first responders. Their pain points are erratic work schedules, chronic pain, emotional and physical exhaustion, right? So you find these pain points and then you create content that is in relation to those things, because they're more likely to interact with those videos where it's like, oh, okay, this guy is understanding me. This guy's understanding where I'm coming from. So I create something that brings attention around those pain points, and then it's like, okay, and XYZ is how you solve those pain points.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you're pushing Creed and Nickelback so much? Because you know that your clientele base
Dad rock.
is
Dad
in
rock.
that is in that age range?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, I mean, that works out
and then
because you like that.
I was gonna say, Joey, I also think it's less of a numbers game than I used to think it was. Meaning, yes, you have to post, you have to be consistent, but like, I'd rather have 10,000 followers who are going to buy my product or whatever I'm selling or whatever my brand is, than have 100,000 who are not. Then I think that's where social media is headed. In my opinion, it's like, it's not necessarily about how many, it's about the quality. Right now, I think it's getting hard for companies to really understand, because there's so many bots, because it's so inundated, what a quality following is. I think there's probably going to be some sort of intervention in the platform that'll allow companies to get a better sense of like, okay, we're going to throw sponsorship ads at this influencer. Like, are people actually buying from them, or they're
No.
You're just in the middle now.
okay?
All right, we're back.
No, so all right. Back what we were saying about social media. No, because it was funny. Because I remember I was like, when Kenny asked me to do this podcast with him, I was looking at different kind of, other comparable accounts, and I saw this one account where they had like, let's say like whatever, 100K or 100K followers, but they're getting like 30 likes or something in comments on their posts. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, that's crazy. Like, how can you have this many followers, but like you got a solid 20 people like saying anything? And so so yeah, it all circles back to organically growing your audience base, and putting out things that they relate to. Like you were saying, Kenny, with your Creed and your Nickelback. But I do want to ask you, Ed.
Well, hold on. Are you saying you don't like Creed or Nickelback?
I do, but I just don't like them as much
Okay,
as you do.
then end of discussion.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. But I'm just saying,
dude. When it became popular to hate on Nickelback, I was like, damn, I really like Nickelback.
You were a
But
closet Nickelback follower.
yeah,
I wasn't even closet. I was out. I was having parades.
yeah, that's fair. But I do want to ask you, Ed. Being in the different industries that you've been in throughout your career, is there because I'm always looking for advice just in life in general, is there an unexpected piece of advice that you got that you're like, oh shit, that actually makes a lot of sense? Did you get it from someone you weren't expecting it from, or can you remember just a random piece of advice you're just like, oh, okay, well, that kind of works? And this goes for you too, Kenny, because you're around people more than I am, for instance. So I'm curious for both your takes.
And when you say people, you mean like people I've worked for, people I've worked alongside, like mentors,
Yeah,
things like that?
all the above. Just because we all have our different stories and journeys, and I know I wasn't the best student in school, but there was one teacher that gave me some pretty good advice just about writing and things like that, and it wasn't even a writing class. And I'm like, oh snap, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I can't think of exact advice, but I would say something that has been the biggest influence in helping me navigate all these different career paths has been, I guess, my mom's advice, or conversations I've had with my mom. She's been very supportive of she always has the saying, "La vida es una." It just means you get one life, so do what makes you happy. And whether I'm working for an investment bank, making a shit ton of money, or figuring it out as a personal trainer, I've always had her support. So that's been a big reason that I've been able to freely, without judgment, and without hesitation, go all in the things that at the time seemed to be the right move for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, I guess that's the closest thing I can think of as like the advice that has helped me succeed and helped me feel comfortable even just like taking the risk.
Yeah, moms are always pretty good at that stuff.
Moms are
Usually.
always right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
What about you, Kenny?
So I cannot, for the life of me, remember who told me this, but it's something that stuck with me, which is there's no such thing as a wasted education,
Mm.
right? And this comes from me changing my career path from engineering to athletic training. So kind of like a complete 180 flip there. Um, and I was really worried because I was like, I spent 2.5 years in engineering. I don't want to now go into a field where I'm wasting all this other education that I got. And it might have been my advisor, but he was just like, there's no such thing as a wasted education. And I have found that to be so true in so many interactions that I have throughout my sales process, right? So if I am talking to a client and they're like, yeah, well, I've worked in engineering for 20 years, and I could be like, okay, I took engineering for 2.5 years. Let's riff for a little bit. And I've made sales based off of random stuff that I've learned throughout my career, and it's all because of some part of my education, right? So was there a lot of hours put into a mechanical engineering class that I'm never going to translate into something else? Yes. But the experience of it all has made me a better person. The experience of everything that I've went through has made me a better salesman, has made me a better human being, right? So there's no such thing as a wasted education.
Yeah, I kind of love both of your stories because it kind of reminds me of my own story personally. Because, like Ed, I asked my mother about a lot of things, and during college, I went initially to try to be a doctor, and I think I saw an episode of House one time, and I was like, I could do that, and so I went to college, and I was like, I'm going to be a doctor when I grow up, and things like that. I'm going to go into the medical field, and as I was going through it, I was like, oh no, I don't think I have it. You know what I mean? I just don't have the juice enough for this. But what I really have the juice for, what I've always had is writing. I love to write, and it's what I've always been good at. So I remember I told my mother, I was like, I think I want to be like I want to switch to English and and write and things like that. And she was very supportive. She's like, well, I mean, it's your life. I'm not, you can't do something you're not really passionate about. So just go for it. And it's funny because, like you were saying, Kenny, no education is wasted. Now I'm in the field of medical writing. You know what I mean? So I'm not a doctor, but I know because I went through those classes and things like that. I know a lot of the terminology. I know a lot of what's going on in the field. So it helps me out now. So yeah, full circle for both your stories. It's kind of cool, actually. Now I think about it, but
I thought you were going to say I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look.
I was like, I've watched enough TV shows. I've seen The Good Doctor. I know what's going on.
I can give a tracheotomy if I needed to.
Exactly. Someone give me a pen. It's just right there. but I do want to ask you, Ed, because we are big on snacks and food here. If you could create any kind of smoothie, or maybe you have a smoothie that you love, what are the ingredients that you're putting in? It could be a protein shake too, but I'm curious because Kenny is
I'm gonna rephrase this because
okay, go ahead.
Ed, if you had the Ed smoothie,
Okay.
what would it be? If it was your smoothie that was being sold at the juice bar in the front of Equinox, what would be the Ed smoothie?
Well, funny you ask, because I do have my own smoothie at Juice Bar, so I've been preparing for this question my entire career.
There's no such thing as a wasted smoothie.
It's so I call it the Ric Flair. Because
Ooh, love that.
initially the
Gonna wake
name
up
was
my
the
baby.
brother. Yeah, initially the name was the brother Nature, and so Ric Flair, um, because that's what his nickname is. But I wanted it
Nature
to be
boy.
green. I mean the Nature Boy, correct. I wanted it to be green because my favorite color. So we add some spinach in there, and then a little bit of kale. 80% spinach, 20% kale, and then we go oat milk, banana,
Mm.
chocolate protein, shaved coconut, a little bit of
Wow.
honey, ice, and that's it. That's my smoothie,
Wow.
the Ric Flair.
That does sound like I don't think I've ever had a drink like that actually.
It tastes
But
like
I
an
would.
almond joy. If you've ever had
Oh, I
almond
do.
joy, it kind of tastes like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I
No,
love that.
Kenny. Oh man, have you ever had Samoa's
Have you?
Girl Scout
I've never
cookie?
had.
Yeah,
Oh, you just
I'm
don't
not a big
like it.
coconut guy.
Oh, you're not. Oh, I'm from the
No.
Caribbean, so
You're
I thought
missing
you were
out
from New
on
York.
I was born in the
Was it
Dominican Republic.
Jamaica Ave?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of both.
You know, if you hang out in some parts of New York, I mean, it's basically the Caribbean anyway.
Yeah, Washington
But
Heights.
yeah, I was joking with someone the other day. I think it might have been one of my cousins because you know, and I'm Spanish as well, except I'm not fluent in it. But
I
one of
thought
my
you were
cousins-
Joey, are you
I
Spanish
know.
or are you Hispanic?
I don't know what it like.
Because
know,
you
if I-
said
if
that
I-
once before and you
if
got
I-
called out for it.
Oh yeah, because was it the person that said like you can't say Spanish because that means you're from Spain or
Yeah.
something?
Oh,
Fuck off!
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
a fucking break. We want me to say I'm Latinx next?
yeah.
Preferably, please.
Oh my god. Anyway, that's beside. Give me a couple more beers. But I remember my cousin was like, you know, he works in the Bronx. He's like, you know, the Dominicans in the Bronx, they don't speak Spanish, they speak Dominican. It's
Oh, that
different.
is a fact.
It's
Yeah, we
different.
have our own dialect. It's entirely different.
That's like the Cubans in Miami, where
Yeah.
Ed and I used to work. It's like
Yeah.
my roommate was from Argentina, and the Cuban came over, and she was fluent in Spanish. And the Cuban came over and was like speaking to her, and after we were done, she was like, "I had no idea what he was saying." I was like, "Aren't you speaking the same language?" She's like, "Barely."
No.
Yeah.
They don't teach that on Duolingo.
No.
Yeah, the Cubans and the Dominicans, we have our own dialect for sure. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's so funny because, you know, my mother's Puerto Rican and she loves like Bad Bunny, for instance, and even Bad Bunny, she's like, I'm catching like every like third word that he's saying, you know. What
Yeah.
I mean? And I'm just
And he's
like,
a rapper,
well, yeah.
so rappers tend
I
to
know.
speak slang and mumble, so it's
Yeah.
already harder to
Yeah,
understand.
I was like, well, what do you think? What do you think I'm dealing with right now? but anyway.
Hold on, you guys asked that question. I need to hear your thoughts. What is your favorite smoothie? You guys have one?
Ooh, Kenny, like
I can make one up right now.
go. You go.
Let's
Kenny.
hear it.
I have to think.
Yeah. No, it would have to be it. Like I'll keep it simple. It would just be like a chocolate and peanut butter. That's it.
Okay.
I'm a big Reese's guy, but it's like sometimes if you put too much in it, it just starts to it's too much, right?
Mhm.
So just chocolate peanut butter.
Okay, I can respect that.
Yeah,
That's
and
it.
just
That's
for. I mean, I'm so fucking basic. I enjoy just like strawberries and bananas and things like that.
Yeah,
I'm
those
just a
are good.
happy
Nice.
camper. You know,
Godly
it's
combo.
like. Yeah, it's like the most basic, like, you know, it's like the California roll equivalent.
Yeah, but I feel like it defines you very well, dude.
Does it?
He just
Why?
said you're a
Because,
big
you know,
bitch.
Your aura is like a banana and strawberry smoothie.
Well, you know, because more reliable. You know what you get. Never gonna disappoint you.
You're a little sweet.
Always gets the job done, baby. Oh my goodness! All right, what's next?
So are these the best questions that you got?
Well, look here,
Oh
man.
man, Joey.
Look, see this, Ed? This is what I have to deal with on a daily basis. Just the slander.
Sorry.
It's okay.
He was my coworker. Now he's all yours.
I know.
By choice.
Yeah.
Joe doesn't even get paid.
I know, right? I get paid in looking at Kenny's face, which is basically not paid. But anyway, I want to ask you about, obviously, nutrition plays a big factor. And like you were saying, when you used to work in Morgan Stanley and you had your ground turkey and your brown rice, what kind of role does food play in how you are, advising your clients and things like that? Like, is it like one of the first things you ask them? Like, what are you eating on a day-to-day basis, and how do we go from there?
Yeah, I tend to do some sort of dietary assessment, whether it's just informally asking and going through the exercise of like, hey, let's talk about what you ate yesterday. Just because, and I mean, Kenny would attest to this, regardless of what you're doing in the gym with me for an hour, it's not going to change the other 23 hours that you're not with me outside of the gym, or it's not going to be as important. So it's like, listen, at the end of the day, there's no godly workout I can put together in here that's going to make you look like Goku. Like, you're going to have to make sure that you're eating. Kenny's like, I beg to differ. You're going to have to make sure that you're eating the right foods, that you're consuming enough protein, and then depending on your goal, whether or not you're trying to lose weight or gain muscle, nutrition is going to be at the heart of that. It's just basic physics. You have to make sure you're eating enough or not eating too much if you're trying to lose weight. So it's one of the first things I talk about in the beginning. Before I started to get educated on the subject, I definitely would just stick more to the exercise portion of it. But then as I started progressing, I realized that to see optimal results, you're going to have to discuss nutrition and what that looks like. And through that process, I've learned so much about people because I tend to eat pretty healthy. I eat a balanced diet. I indulge in things I like. I eat cereal sometimes. I eat ice cream. I also exercise more than the average person, so I can kind of get away with some of it. But learning about people's eating habits has been fascinating because I didn't know people still ate McDonald's. Like, I thought most people kind of knew what the deal was with that, or I didn't know that people would like drink a 700 calorie Starbucks to start their morning. I just didn't know because I don't eat like that. So it's been a learning experience through people and through conversation, which for me, being as curious as I am, has been super interesting and entertaining. But I'm curious to hear what Kenny thinks because I know he's talked on the nutrition part with clients for a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, and also I'm sorry that I have something in my eye that's driving me crazy. But go ahead.
All right, you're crying. Yeah, I think that you bring up a really good point, and it's a very large part of what I want this podcast to be about, and that is what we as fitness professionals consider common sense really isn't that common, right? Mm. So there is a large portion of the population that doesn't think that eating McDonald's is bad. Right, and I don't want to say eating McDonald's is bad, but eating certain foods that us as fitness professionals would be like, why the hell are you doing that? They don't know any better. And it's a lot to do with convenience. It's a lot to do with finances. It's a lot to do with time. It's a lot to do with just people not knowing any better. So Ed, you brought up another good point, is you learn a lot about people when you start to talk about nutrition, right? Because nutrition is also very closely tied to culture, right? So it's important when having these discussions with people to understand why they're doing the things that they're doing. Because it could be something as strong-rooted as a cultural thing, where I'm not going to take something away from you that is a part of your traditions. So it's super important as a coach, as a nutritional coach, to ask all of the questions, right? So you need to be able to gather the data before you just start giving advice. and before you just start telling people what to do, because people are going to be a lot more likely to push back, right? Yeah, you really want to meet people where they're at. So I don't want to take up too much of the time talking about this, but I think the biggest takeaway is going to be meet people where they're at, and then build the bridge between where they're at and where they're trying to go, which sounds super simple, but it couldn't be further from the truth. Number one thing I always recommend people doing is starting with structure, right? So if they are eating one meal on Monday, 2 meals on Tuesday, no meals on Wednesday, and there's just chaos, it's not going to work. We're not able to tweak anything because there's no structure. So the first thing is build consistency within your nutrition. So if that means you're eating fast food 3 times a day every single day, it's a start, right? So if that's the only thing that you can do in order to be consistent, okay, it's not ideal, but let's do it. And then once you have that consistency, then it's like, okay, hey, can we maybe remove the buns from the burger, and then we prioritize the protein, and then you can go ahead and kind of snowball into something else. But you never want to start by taking things away, and you always want to make sure that you get the full picture, which you're never going to get the full picture because food is tied to emotion. Yeah, people lie. People are the worst stories.
You don't live with these people.
Yeah. But when it comes to nutrition, there's a lot of emotional ties to it, which is also important to be aware of, which is also the big part of being a coach, is dealing with the psychological component of it as well, right? So you always want to be compassionate. You always want to understand.
Yeah, that was well said. And then, sorry, Joey, to interrupt. The only other thing I'd add to that, called you Jamie, like Joe Rogan's guy.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Pull it up.
The footage.
Wow.
The only other thing I'd add to that is that something I've also learned, and I feel like, especially in like social media, people tend to give advice about adhering to certain diets or eating lifestyle patterns that are just not sustainable for most people. And I think when like discussing eating habits with people, the most important thing, or one of the most important things, in addition to what Kenny said, is just creating something that's sustainable. So like if I have a client who's like, hey, I might just like start intermittent fasting for like 18 hours a day because I think that's going to make me lose weight. It's helping them understand like, okay, is that something you think you can do forever? And then people go, oh, no, I mean, not forever, but just enough until I lose the weight. I'm like, well, okay, great. What happened after that? After you lose the weight, you're just going to reintroduce the same foods and then gain the same weight and maybe a little bit more all over again. So I've noticed that it's really about building something that is sustainable. And to Kenny's point, it might take time. It's not going to be like, okay, you're eating this perfect diet. It's like, okay, you're starting with just fast food and removing the buns, and then fast forward a year or two of working with them, all of a sudden they have a healthy diet, they're getting enough fiber, and it's a lot more balanced. But you have to work into that sustainable approach as opposed to just trying to eliminate all these foods and being like, okay, you're going to have to make sure you eat 18 eggs a day, and we're going to have you drinking all this water and doing all these things, where like it's a lot of the advice that's being circulated on the internet. And like with my message on social media, it's like we're pushing people away. Because if you tell people this is what fitness and health looks like, people are going to be like, fuck that, I'm out. Like, we're all going to die. And then it's like, they're going to be like, we're all going to die anyway. Why would I not just, like, if that's what it takes to look good and to be healthy, I'm out.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to push more of a narrative of balance and sustainability, especially as it relates to nutrition, because I feel like right now it's very polarized and people are just being extreme about the situation and not giving advice that's more balanced and more sustainable to the average person.
Yeah, and I want to kind of go off that as well, because you bring up a good point of time, right? So people, you have to think about how long did it take you to put on all this weight.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want to lose all that weight in a month. Well, it didn't take a month for you to put all that on. It's not gonna. You're not gonna be able to take it off.
This is the product of hard work right here.
just pump me full of Ozempic and call it a day.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Why not?
But I think that you bring up a really good point of sustainability, right? Because people are trying to lose the weight fast, and they think, oh, if I just totally starve myself, I will get to where I need to be. You're going to lose a lot of weight, but you're going to do a lot of damage in the process, right? So if your body is requiring a certain amount of calories just to function properly, and you're not reaching those calories, you're going to start to have changes in your hormones. You're going to have changes in all parts of your systems. And now, exactly like what you were talking about, once you start back onto a normal eating schedule, or normal to what they were eating before, you're going to not only gain all your weight back, but you're probably going to gain more because your hormones are all out of whack. So you've only done more damage. So something that I really want to know about my client is, why are we doing this? What are the goals? Because if your goals are to lose weight and be healthy, then being healthy is going to involve making sure that all your hormones are in the right place, making sure that you are losing the weight, but you're losing it in a safe speed. So it all comes back to, why are you doing this? Now, if the doctor's like, hey, you need to lose 60 pounds because you're at a very high risk for a heart attack, or we're trying to get you in for a surgery, which we can't do until you lose all that weight, then we might push you a little bit harder to do that. But it's under the impression of, hey, this is not going to be a long-term dietal solution. This is something that we're going to do, but we're also going to have a plan of attack for once you're done with this diet. How are we transitioning out of it? So there are going to be special cases like that, but I am all about sustainability. And if it took you 10 years to put all this weight on, you can't expect it to be gone in a month.
Right.
Wow. It's true, though, because this has been building for a good 30 years, and so
30 years of hard work.
Yeah, it's it's not crazy, but I could afford to lose a little bit. Kenny, I want to ask you: are you still pushing cottage cheese like you did back in college? Because Ed, when Kenny was training because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, he was like,
I still don't know what I'm doing.
He was like, Joey, he's like. All I want you to eat is just grilled chicken and put cottage cheese on top of it, and not for nothing, it was pretty delicious. But Kenny, are you still pushing that combo or no?
Look,
yes, the first responders enjoy cottage cheese.
Absolutely, right. So, I'm trying to find a serious way to answer this. And
it doesn't have to be serious.
So it is so good for you, like just absolutely packed with protein, but also it is something that is so simple to like implement into whatever nutritional plan or structure that you have, and I would say it's almost equivalent, if not better, than adding like a protein shake, right? So, I mean, ideally, getting protein from food sources is always going to be better than getting it from a supplement. But, I mean, it comes back to, what are your goals?
Yeah.
Right? So, if we're talking about, like, habitual changes, if adding a scoop of cottage cheese to your salad in place of salad dressing, that's one small switch that you can do in your weekly nutrition that's going to move from, hey, there's a whole bunch of not good fats in this salad dressing, to, hey, this is totally packed with protein, it's getting your numbers where they need to be, and it just makes sense. So it comes back to your goals, but aside from the professional answer, dude, get that shit.
I just had a flashback.
Eat it by the bucket.
I just had a flashback. You're talking about salads. I was one of those people where I thought that, like, because I'm eating a salad, I'm being healthy, but I'm drowning the fucking salad in, like, ranch. or whatever it is. And, like, it probably was you, Ken. You're like not. It's not working the way you think it's working. Like, you can't just, like, say salad and, like, oh, it's fine. Oh my goodness.
I make a lot of generalizations when I'm talking about broad topics like this, but a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, will be lacking protein in their nutrition. So cottage cheese is packed with protein. Greek yogurt is packed with protein. I mean, chicken. I mean, these are things that you will always hear personal trainers talk about because they are so packed with protein. And it's because the majority of people are not getting the recommended amount of protein in their diet. So, that being said, just go to Costco and buy the industrial sized tub of cottage cheese and get a ladle and just spoon feed
I don't know about all that. That sounds crazy, but
and people also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Joey. Real quick on this, I was gonna say, people also think that because they're having protein, they're having enough. Like, I've noticed speaking to clients, I'm like, hey, are you like eating protein? Like, oh yeah, like I eat protein. I'm like, okay, let's like go through what you ate. Like, well, I ate like an egg. I'm like, okay, 6 grams to start your morning. They're like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, your goal is 160 grams and you're starting one meal with 6 grams of protein. Like, that's just not going to cut it. So I think it's also like about helping people understand that, to Kenny's point, if your goals are muscle growth, you're going to have to prioritize protein every meal. So it's not just like, hey, you're getting protein. It's like, okay, you're getting enough protein for whatever your protein targets are for that day. And for most people that I found, based on the demographic that I'm working with, if you're not starting off the day with, I would say, at least 30 grams of protein, you're probably falling short by a large amount for the day.
Wow. Now I'm just thinking about
like I said, it's a good generalization. What happened, Joey?
I'm just thinking, like, wow, it puts in perspective what the hell I'm eating for breakfast every day. Not 30 grams, probably.
Yeah, some people get through the whole day and they're like at 20 grams of protein, and it's like, yeah, it's not going to be enough. But yeah, I think, no. Continue. You guys keep ranting.
Well, I also just want to ask you guys, because we're obviously talking about social media and the role it plays in your health professional world. Have you guys, you're both on social media, have you guys noticed like a weird or like an unconventional like fitness trend where you're just like, no, it doesn't work like that? Like, what are you talking about, kind of thing?
Where do we start?
Answer this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot. I think the concept of toning and burning fat is probably one that gets on my nerves the most, because it's like people have the best intentions when they look up how to do certain exercises or how to lose weight, and for the sake of going viral, people are just blatantly lying and putting out misinformation just to try to capture people's attention. And it's deceptive and also annoying, because then as a coach, when I have a client like, oh, look at this workout that I saw, Ed, it says that like I'll lose all this weight, like why are we not doing these crunches? and then I have to explain to them like the functional ways to work their core, and like I have to go through the re-education process, which is super annoying. But a trend I've noticed for sure is like people, women, men, talking about like how to get a six pack, how to build your core, how to look quote unquote snatched. That's been one that's annoying, but I've had to contend with quite a lot recently.
That was a good one. That was a really good one because you will see influencers taking advantage of people not necessarily knowing any better, being like, "Oh, are you trying to burn the fat that's right here? Let me go ahead and give you these tricep workouts. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all." So, I'm not even going to answer your question, Joey. I'm just going to go off of what Ed was saying.
It's usually how it works anyway.
I'll answer it. I'll answer it. But first I want to go off of what Ed's saying because I feel like it's very... most people don't understand this concept. But if you have fat in your midsection, doing ab workouts isn't going to make that burn faster, right? Mm-hmm. So that core workout isn't going to burn the fat around your core, right? Mm-hmm. So whenever people ask me, "Oh, hey, what's the best workout to get rid of all this fat?" I always say like squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts, pull-ups, all the workouts, all the movements that are going to engage the most muscles. That is going to help you burn the calories the fastest, right? And then in turn will help burn more fat, right? Quotes everywhere. But there are more targeted ways to do that. I'm not even going to get into that because that's a whole other hour-long conversation. I was going to get into like zone 2 cardio.
I was going to ask you guys, how do I get the V back in my
sex?
In my study? Well, I don't want to. I'm having a lot of that.
You made him nervous. You made him nervous, Kevin.
Maybe if you're watching this, just close your ears for a little bit.
But Joey, what was your tell me your question again.
What is like a weird or like unconventional like trend you've noticed on social media? Like,
shoot, you know what drives me crazy, but it also the waist the people that wear the band around their waist that's a new age corset. It's a waist trainer, that's what it's called, where it's just like, for me, you're rearranging your organs, which is what Joey used to do. Never mind, let me stop.
I hate you so much. I thought that was funny.
I think that is doing more harm than good for an aesthetic purpose that is like so minimal. If it is doing
there's
anything,
there's no way that's healthy. Just
because you're just like you're squeezing your rib cage in a way that it's not supposed to move, which is, I'm sure, just disrupting your breathing. It's moving your organs in ways that it shouldn't be moving.
It's also just not working.
It's doing zero for burning fat. It's doing zero for burning fat. Yeah, I would say that's my biggest thing.
So no waist trainer. So yeah, you're saying the waist trainer and the BBL look is not what we should be aiming for.
I mean, I left Miami for a reason. It just wasn't for me.
That's so funny. Oh man.
Ed
has to be careful with his words because he's still in Miami.
I was gonna say take me with you. No, actually, but I was coming from New York, so it's a different vibe, different energy. It's something new.
Still a city vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a city vibe.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, Kenny, I asked all the.
What else you got, Joey?
I asked all my questions, man. Can you believe this?
All right. Yeah.
Can you believe this?
Ed, you can go ahead and use this time to plug whatever it is you want to plug. If you got Instagram, you got LinkedIn,
please.
you got YouTube, go ahead and put
For
it all
sure.
out there.
Yeah, as of now, I'm really only mostly active on Instagram, and now I'm starting to try to figure out TikTok and go down that path.
Well, it's
It's
a bad
hard,
time
man.
to do that because TikTok's
Why?
about to get
Why?
banned.
They're trying to
Is
ban
it?
it now.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Yeah, it got like
okay,
81% of the votes. That was
Wait,
like
really? Wow.
was it Congress was like, yo, we're banning
Yeah.
TikTok.
Oh wow, okay. I don't watch the news, so I didn't know that. So scratch the TikTok. But I'm mostly on Instagram, and it's just Ed like Ed, and then Okasawa, Okasawa. It's my Japanese alter ego. For anyone who was wondering.
Wow.
Yeah,
Kenny.
and that's pretty
Kenny,
much it.
we gotta
Yeah.
figure out. We got to figure out your Japanese alter ego. How do they say white bitch in Japanese?
I think it's Oni-chan.
The fact that you
Just go
know
to
that is
just-
crazy.
No, he's lying for sure, right?
Oh, okay.
No,
Is that really it?
no, I think that means Big Brother.
Oh,
okay.
you liar! I thought
Yeah.
you were cultured for a second.
Nah, he
No,
watches
I'm
a lot of
pretty sure-
anime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's about.
and that's what I was about to say. Maybe we'll spend the next hour talking about an anime.
Yeah. No, but
Ed, do you have a YouTube as well?
Not at the moment, except for the cereal one. But I mean, I'm not keeping that one up to date. But no, I'd like to. I'd like to get into YouTube again. And honestly, I feel like LinkedIn is also like a slept-on platform, especially if you're trying to build a business with social media, not just post for going viral. So I plan to get on that, but as Kenny knows, being a full-time trainer often means working 6 a.m.
Yeah.
to 7 p.m. So sometimes it's just hard. And that's no excuse, but it's just like figuring out what the structure of posting will be. That's been like the biggest challenge in all of this.
I have been hearing that LinkedIn is starting to like you were saying, like starting to pick up for like just people trying to grow their business. Obviously, it's not just a platform where you're looking for jobs, but yeah, no, it actually is like starting to grow into that. So there you go, Kenny. See if you can find a button-down shirt for once in your life and upload a picture to LinkedIn as professional.
I will forever choose jobs that allow me to wear sweatpants and sweatshirts.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Cheers to that, Kenny.
Yeah, man. All right, Ed, thank you so much for coming on. Joey, thank you for always being you.
Of course.
And
Yeah,
then,
appreciate you guys having me. This was fun.
of course, man.
Willing to come shoot the shit anytime.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Good. We'd love to have you back. Joey, we have no choice. You're always coming back.
You're stuck with me now.
All right, guys.
All
Good night,
see
everybody.
ya. Good night.
Good night, yeah.